The Lord disciplines those whom he loves. He chastises every child he recognizes as his own. Let's take a moment and consider the people who had a big influence on our lives when we were growing up. Who are these people? Often, these are the people who disciplined us the most. Maybe it was our catechism teacher who ensured that we attended all the catechism classes, however boring they were. Maybe a teacher who was very strict about our punctuality. Maybe a teacher who ensured that we have read the materials, and the end of it all, only one or probably none get an A. It could be our grandparents. It could be our parents. We might have scoffed at their criticism, at their strictness by then, but now, when we look back, when we reflect on those long ago experiences, we think of them as treasures. We appreciate it. At times, we make effort to go and look at that old man, at that old woman. The author of the letter to the Hebrews relates God's operations with our own experiences. The Lord disciplines those whom he loves. He chastises the child he recognizes as his own. And so the audience of the letter to the Hebrews felt their trials were punishment or rejection by God. It is an audience, a community that is undergoing trials, temptations, painful moments. The encouragement is explicit. The author says, endure your trials as discipline. God treats you as his sons and daughters. For what son, for what daughter is there whom his father does not discipline? And thus, our author today of the first reading is sensitive to the pain that goes with molding and forming a person. It is not a cup of tea to be molded, to be scolded, to be told that it is not right, you are wrong, you have made a mistake. It is painful, especially when it is coming from a person whom you think perhaps you are better off than him or her. And that is why he says, the author, at the time of disciplining, it is painful. This is from the letter to the Hebrews. It is painful and may be resented, but later it is appreciated because of its formative effects. When I was growing up, we used to have a proverb from one of those teachers that I mentioned who are very, very strict, and even we would think he's very mean with marks, was very strict, but he would tell us, the roots of education are bitter, but the fruits are, is a very simple statement, but if you take it literally, and you say the roots of formation, the roots of molding, the foundation of becoming is not easy, is bitter, but when you are molded, then you see things in a different perspective. You are able to appreciate a yes and no, or even a no, a non answer, or a no response. And so, my dear friends, the experience of the Hebrews is not foreign to us. There are moments in our lives when we feel God is harsh on us. You need only to immerse yourself in a pastoral experience, in a pastoral field work, in a parish, for instance, and you understand how at times people see God as an unjust ruler. People will even come and ask, Father, what did I ever do to receive this kind of sickness? What did I ever do to receive the kind of punishment that I'm experiencing? Isn't God unfair? And so the first reading for me, my dear sisters and brothers, is a reminder that God's love is present in every single experience. And an experience doesn't have to be positive. It doesn't have to be an experience where people clap at us. It can also be a bad experience that we feel as if we would like the ground to open and it swallows us. So every single experience, both good and bad, is also a moment that we can experience and we could see God's love. My spiritual director reminds me whenever I complain of something complain of ABCD, he reminds me of an important statement. And he says, as a religious, you should be open to 3 responses from your superiors. The first one is a yes. And most of us would expect that the work of the superior would be to affirm with a yes. But the second one, he says, is a no. So a no is an answer. And the third one is silence. You may write an email, you may call, you say, I have heard, and you will wait, and you will wait. It is an answer. All these 3 are responses, and none of them changes the cura personalis. If you want, the cura personalis is the care of the person. Whether you get a yes, no, or a no answer, it does not change the love that whoever, in this case a superior, would have of his subjects. And thus, it is the same approach and attitude that I would also suggest to us about God. At the time, it can be difficult when you see that you are being disciplined, you are being corrected, but let alone, we may be able to see the real good in that experience. An example would be, for instance, somebody who is in the hospital who is asking the question, why me? Or the loss of a loved one. Or a situation that we are praying for today, somebody has to have an open operation. It could be at some point in life that one reevaluate the experience and the situation and say, aha, it was painful. Thanks be to God. I overcome it. I am a better person. And related to the first exhortation is what Mark teaches us today. Through the words of Jesus, he exhorts us to avoid the trap of familiarity. Let us ask ourselves a simple question. How many times have we failed to recognize the voice of Jesus speaking to us because the person addressing us is someone we meet every day, a person we may not like or even despise? It is also not unheard of that you have to check the list. I don't mean here, but in places where you check the list who is saying the Mass. And if it is a name that starts with G, for instance, or M, Then you have to prepare to go to another place where is a different alphabet beginning the letter, and so on. So because you don't see the message, you don't hear the message, you see the person. The Jesuits have a saying that goes like this, but please don't quote me. But I have heard, we say we see God in everything. You know that, huh? We try, our spirituality is to see God in everything. But there's something that we don't complete this statement. We see God in everything except in the superior. So don't quote me, but that you are going to experience it often. So we are not the first ones to fall into this temptation of familiarity. The audience of today's gospel passage fail to see the message of Jesus simply because of their misplaced familiarity with Jesus. Oh, he is a son of a manual worker. He is our comrade. We play with him. What can he tell us? We are older than him. Perhaps we have better education. We come from good families than him. What good can come from such a person? They failed to see and to realize that God can and does talk to us through all kinds of people, Catholic or not, relative, friend, colleague, children, total stranger, educated, uneducated, and the list goes on. As a result, they missed the opportunity to receive God's graces because of their focus on temporalities and externalities. And so, my dear friends, our dual invitation today is simple. First, openness to learn, openness to correction, openness to be disciplined, as Hebrews says. And the second is a prayer, the grace to transcend externalities and temporalities.